You Kyle has to be under the jacket now.
Am I all set? We go. I want to thank Rabbi Yosef Yafi until any time. Kavash Kocha Pratis Kol Loshen. And I can be zeicher to be Mabitz Teda in this way, Bezer Hashem. And maybe she'll help weiter all those Mabitz Teda. I want to thank Hashem for all of them. I invite everybody, whoever is zeicher to do anything in Zikr HaRabim is Neir Nereis. The schus of Zikr HaRabim, I just saw the Peli speaks about Atzolos Nefashos. And he speaks about a gewaldige schus to save a person. It's Neir Nereis. Hey, now we're talking business. Arak! Oh, we're talking business. And it's ice cold. This man understands. The Arak just arrived from the cream of Deal. You're from Deal, no? Ah. And he lets me, you see that? This guy's great. Alright, icy cold, extra fine, special. See Rabbi Isa, you here? What happens after schus? I was thanking Hashem for everyone else, so he should give me arak. Amen. One of the great things that Kodesh Baruch Hu did, create arak. Arak is not a joke, arak. And so is vodka. And so is ice cream. I'll tell you, I speak, people think, I don't chop. How can't the person sit down when he's eating? You know the foods? You know what's going on these days? They come to my house, Yerushalmis from all over the world. Can I give you something? They all go the same. They all look the same. Oh, food? That's fine. Nobody's interested. They have these boxes coming all over the place. Food? You want food? You want food? Like everyone's starving around here. There's so much food. Everyone's eating. How can you eat so much? You go to a supermarket. Wow, you get dizzy. And the Rabbeinu Shalom in his goodness is giving us a sample of what Olam Haba is all about. Bishlema Olam Haza. Imagine what's going to be in the next world. What Abish is giving a slight mashu of a taste of what he's capable, of what he can do. Look, in Gashmish, which is a joke compared to Ruchnis, you can't compare. The fun that we're going to have in the next world, the simcha, for the smallest mitzvah we ever did. The simcha we're going to get, and it's so important to talk about this stuff day and night, because the more you appreciate, the more schar you're going to get. I'm going to tell you a Murder Gavod that says that Eliezer Avram Avinu told him, similarly, so Rashi said, what's that? This mitzvah came through pain. So it's chaviv. He loves that mitzvah. It came through pain. All those mitzvahs you had through pain. You have to love that the most. Because Avraham Avinu lived through the film Tzara Agro. How much tsar is worth in the next world. How you'd be dancing and singing for every drop of tsar we ever went through. We have to be going shika from simcha to be a yid, to be alive in Hashem's beautiful world. And the more you appreciate these things, the more schar you're going to get. The more simcha, the Orchos Tzadikim says, you get 1,000 times more schar. By the way, the Orchos Tzadikim was not Hasidic. Nothing wrong with being Hasidic. I was just out of Kapitchin. It's a bar mitzvah. And the Rebbe is here from Yerushalayim. And I went and I kissed his hand. And I feel very comfortable because that's my roots. Oh, but it doesn't mean you don't need to be Hasidish. Orchos Tzadikim says you're getting 1,000 times more schar if you're happy with what you're doing. I would sit down every day and start, before I go home, achina for my talmidim. I want to, no one's going home. We're going to sit here for 5 minutes. I would say for 3 hours. and to thank Hashem. We're zeicher to learn Torah. And you are zeicher to get kicked out of class for being a wise guy. And I was zeicher to have you and suffer. I'm giving him mashal chas shalom. It's not that bad. Not that bad at all. If you daven, everything goes. You have to be so happy to be a malamed, to be a Rabbi Tzadosha was Zatzal, a big tzaddik from Lakewood. He's the one that put out the book on Rabbi Cutler. And he had the Gedolim held a Welt from that book. It wasn't Stam a book. He himself was from the biggest old Talmidim of Rabbi, from the Gresta, they said when he became a chassan, I was in the principals. I was in Reb Noson's office. Reb Yehuda Jacobs, Reb Noson, referred to him as the last of the Mohicans. So the last of the Mohicana, the Mashgiach said. And they're looking at each other, Mashgiach. And Reb Yehuda Jacobs, you know what that is? I don't want to corrupt everybody, but I used to be a kid and a red, white, and blue American boy when there were no from books to read, except Lubavitch had a few books they put out. Come inside, Arla. And they used to... Anyway, we used to read different things. So we knew about certain things. The last of the Mohicans, I'm not getting involved in what it is. Those who know. But it means it's an expression of the last of the great people. And they said that about Rabbi Tzadosha when he came a chassan. He was an old Bacha. And they praised him a lot. Anyways, Rabbi Tzadosha, how do I get into this? What was I talking about?
He wanted to be Malam, but he was all kind of you were kind of him.
Oh, beautiful. So he said the Eitzara won. I says, you're sitting and harving and learning. I'm a Lamed Nebuch. And he looks at me, you have a whole class every time you open your mouth. It's times 25, 30 mitzvahs. It was just chus gadol, and I'm sitting alone with my stender. So what am I compared to you? And I tell him the other, he says, the Eitzara won on all fronts. Every person thinks the other one's a lucky one. Get out of that stuff. You are lucky. I don't want to speak in Lakewood about what Zvulin's all about. Those who support Torah, you know who they are? Don't ask how big they are. I'll see the Rebbe told me this here in Lakewood. In Lakewood, it doesn't pass to say it over. But if I'd be speaking to Balabatim, I would say it. I would not say it around here. No way. Not because I'm afraid for myself. I don't think it's good to hear it. But it's such a plug for those who help others who are not the big learners. You know what a plug I can give them? I'm speaking privately for them. But it's not the Olam here has to aim towards Torah either way. No matter if you're in Lakewood, that's the way a Yid has to think. I'm aiming towards sitting and learning. You got to aim in that direction. Kozman, you got to aim in that direction. Handle with care all other directions. Even though I myself say a lot of things that, that I desperately want the Olam to hear. And I didn't make these things up. I raised up plenty with all the big guns from the last door and heard things they would say quietly and they didn't want the Olam there, but that's the truth, There's a lot of truths. I want to say something today about the notion to the kindness of Klal Yisrael. You know that without the Mama Rivka, we'd be in the garbage can. If it would, Hashem Yerachim, watch what you're saying. But if Yitzchak Avinu was in charge alone, without the Mama Rivka, guess what would have happened? Esav Russia would have gotten all the brachos. That would have been great for us. It would have been a chorban. Baruch Hashem, little Rivka, 3 years old she was when she married a husband who was 5 times her age, and she was in awe of him. And the Heilige Mama Rivka saved us. And guess who saved us from Yishmael? That was the Mama Sarah. The ladies invited the ladies. I'm speaking to men. I shouldn't be saying this around here. This is not for men. It's for ladies. But men should hear it. If you want to know who you're married to, don't make jokes out of ladies. Now, I make jokes. There's a time to do that. What's wrong? I think it's good stuff. You know what the real ladies are? I'll tell you more about the ladies. There were 3 ladies in Tanakh. One was the Shunamis. No one knows her name. Name of a place. She served Elisha Navi. She was described as an Isha Gedela. She was a Bam Tzadikis Gemura. Can't describe her greatness. She was Zechet the Tchias Amisim with her son, with Shunamis. And then there was an Isha Chachama, whose name is not mentioned, who saved the whole city. She was Serach Masash. Her name isn't mentioned. And then there's another one. We know who was Serach Masash. The other one was the Takayas. She came from the city Takaya. She saved the relationship between David HaMelech and Avshalom. David was angry at Avshalom, and Yoav got a hold of her, smart lady from Shevet Asher, where they have a lot of olive oil, and olive oil makes it smart. And Takaya has the most olive oil. So he took her, and she did a job, and to David HaMelech, and she's told the whole Baba Maisa, and David figured it out. Okay, who told you to do? Who are you to do that job? Was it Yoav? David was no fool. He figured out. But because she did a job, she did a job, and they reconciled because of her. David and Avshalom were reconciled because of this woman from Shevet Asher. No one knows who she is. There are 3 ladies, no names. Why no names? The ladies, Sneas, they're the greatest. The greatest gishmak in their lives is to be background music for the husband's greatness. Bata bale bala. What did it say? Husband is known all over. And she's in the background. That's the real holy. Those ladies are Kodesh Kedoshim because of their anava, their humility, the holy Jewish women. They are. Look at this, Rivka, and so look at this. Look at the patches, the ladies. They're no jokes. Oh no, a lady. I'll tell you something. The Rabbalach Sidim. I was a guest by a Yid who was. I didn't know his greatness at the time. His name was Schwartz, Rabdan Schwartz, I believe. He was. I think he lived till about 100. I was his guest for Shabbos once. And I was very inspired in Yerushalayim. I was a Bachel learning by Rav Scheinberg. He invited me over. We had a great time over Shabbos. He was the Gabbai of the Rabbar Rebbe. You know what that is? Oh. The old Rabbar wrote himself. He was the Gabbai. And he said, to see those days, the Rabbar Chassidim used to shine, especially because they were the ones who kept the old Yerushalmi traditions more than anyone else. They had a special Shem. They're still great people. Now there's a few of them. I relate very well with that Chassidus, the Shemer Emunim, that Sefer. All the Litvakas run after it. Reb Chatzkel helped from it. I believe the Chazon Ish helped from it. Reb Aaron Kayim was a Litvish Yeshiva of Hebron. He became a Chassid of Reb Arla. Reb Arla is, the Litvish Ha'olam is comfortable with that Sefer. From all the Chassidish Sfarim, they're especially comfortable there. It's the way it reads and what it's all about. It's Amuna is everything. I'm very comfortable with that. In fact, I had Yeshua's, one of those Rebbes from the grandchildren. I once got him on the phone and I got a Mifus, thanks to him. And he also did it. Yeah, they're great people, not shy. Anyway, I don't get into that. Into the who?
By his house for Shabbos.
Was that house for Shabbos? So, what did he tell me? Our secret of our success is ladies. We put a kayach, mainly the ladies. We need good women. The men, all right. They're nice guys. They learn a little, they work, whatever. They keep the lavush, and they daven extra long. But the ladies, make sure those ladies are top-notch ladies. You want to know where they made that mistake? In Poland. In Poland, a lady was not so pashut. I, myself, witnessed more than once. A woman showed me pictures of a family back in Europe. She was already an older woman. Here's us. And Rahman al-Islam, The mother went with a tichel, but the daughter, not me. A married woman without a tichel in Poland. The husband's going with a spudik and a beard, and she's not on a tichel with short sleeves. What's going on? And the husbands are sitting and knocking and Torah and Yira, and they're going and having it. But the ladies, you don't mess around with them. They lost the whole. They were going downhill. Hitler came. If Hitler would not have come, Reb Shaul Milzatzel once pointed out, big tzaddik from Lakewood, old friend of mine, he pointed out how if Hitler hadn't come, they were sliding so quickly away from Hashem. It was a pachad. They were dying out. These are chassidus, knackadik chassidus, and they were strong, and they're strong. But the ladies, you don't put kaiches in ladies. Who puts the kid to sleep? A lady that throws red flags over trolley cars to show that she's a communist. Reb Chaim Halpern told me he saw it himself. The way the girls, they were, their boys are also plenty of communists around. Communists, Bundists, socialists, Zionists. We know them. There's so many ists and isms all over the place. And they're all off the derech, except the few from a Yidden. You know Reb Chaim Eiser once said in Lithuania? He says, in Lita, more than the B'nai Torah, we don't got nobody. In Lita, it was over. Lita was, everyone was off the derech. Reb Leib Rotkin Zatzal, he was a Litvisher, he told me, in his town, hundreds, thousands of Yidden over there, maybe there were 2 Bachrim that were from, because they went to yeshiva. They didn't go to yeshiva. They were smoking on Shabbos. It was over. That was the matzav. All over in Lita. Lita was a shrek. And it wasn't much better. Hungary was supposed to be the best. Poland, they quote the Briskerov. I'm not sure what he said. But I heard 2 different guesses. He said, Hungary was saved by the Chassam Sofer. Poland was saved by Chassidus. And Lita wasn't saved. Yeshem, he said, no, Musa saved Lita. There are 2 different guesses what he said exactly. The little Lita had was Musa. Musa is the yeshivas. So Salanta, he started Kelm, Slobodka, Nobhardok, so Musa. Without Musa, forget it. There was a Maisa where someone started a new yeshiva. I know the name. I don't want to say it in public, although everybody knows who it was. He was a bomb. He was a tzaddik. His divrei Torah. He was on the level of Reb Chaim Brisker. I mean, he was a bomb in learning. Thank you so much. He was unbelievable. And they say he was a pemap in Mongolia. So he opened up his mouth and Torah came out. He was delicious. I remember his divrei Torah. I learned a few of his shtiklach. When in Alumdish stuff, there was nothing like it. It was out of this world. He was starting a new yeshiva, and all the big Balikisha and Slobodka wanted to join. They're running to his yeshiva, big genius. They're going to go after him. And Rab Ruderman wanted to go. He was a young Bach and Slobodka, and all the big guns. He said, I want to go. So he told the Alta, I want to go to that yeshiva. The Alta said, come here. Let's take a walk. They took a walk together. They went on a bridge, over a bridge, and then Alta suddenly says, okay, go jump over. Jump into the water. Well, what do you mean by that? Jump, go drown yourself. What do you mean? Better drown here than go to that yeshiva. Might as well drown right here. The Alta knew how to get a message across. And Reb Ruderman, Zatzal, told over. What was wrong? They didn't learn Musa, Adkan. It was Gainus over there. He was a genius, a Gain and a tzaddik, a world famous on the caliber of Reb Chaim Brisker. It was Rees. And he said from that whole yeshiva, one person stayed from. And he was one of these half-baked, how from, I don't know. That's all that came. Why? How did the Alta know? There was no Musa. There was no Musa, forget it. You weren't going nowhere. In Lita, those days, no Musa, it's over. Anyway, so the women, those who are smart, put kaiches. The Hungarians were better. The women wear sheitlach. There was more of an emphasis in whatever was. And this was the Rabbi, the Gabbai. The Baron Roth told me the secret of our success. We put a lot of kinds of ladies. Ladies are not a joke. The holies are in Lakewood. I'm going to say, I was encouraged to repeat this for Rambam, and I will. In Lakewood, every single town has people who are no good. Everyone's good. But people that are, unfortunately, cannot function normally because of their tightness are dominating their lives. Shem Yerachem, 12-step programs with these type of things. I'm not sure exactly what this fellow does. He's a friend of mine. He used to come to the Vadim. He said, he's in charge of that in Lakewood. And they have their share of Chassidim, Litvaks, Sephardim, Russians. They got all kinds, men, women. One thing they don't have, not one Kail wife is on their list. Not one. You know what that means? You know what purity? A woman whose husband is in Kail. I want to tell you, I had sitting right here. I had a man and his wife. He came to me. I says, how long are you living in Kail? 20 years. I almost fainted. 20 years. You just say it just like this? 20 years you're learning in Kail. Why aren't you dancing like I can't be massy? I had a lady on the phone. Whatever. Her problem? She wants a bracha for more kids. How many kids do you have? 12. And my kids want, the last kid was just born 4 months ago, and my kids decided that'll be the middle child of the family. It was funny. But anyway, I says, I apologize after the conversation. I says, you're a mother of 12 kids? I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. A mother of 12 kids. She's not a joke. You know, the greatness, people don't appreciate who they are. But anyway, I want to make a dugget for the ladies. The ladies are Kodesh, Kadoshim, Noshim, Snuas, Negalu. They're so holy. Rabbi Miller, Zatzal, once spoke about the women, Williamsburg women, how there's nothing in their heads, and they're full of purity, and they're so, you gave a whole drasha about what they are. And of course, the Lakewood women, and they're all great, every one of them. There's nothing wrong, not one. Goodbye. They're all tzaddikim we were. By the way, the men ain't too bad either, between you and me. In fact, men are plenty good. Plenty good. The greatness of some of these women is that they're able to be civil some of these men. Like my wife is one of them. I'm joking. And the greatness of some of these men is that they're able to be civil some of these ladies. I'm joking. Anyway, but it's true in many instances. It's very, very true. There's a lot of situations where you should know in the next world, your greatness is that you lived with so-and-so and you came out sane. Or half sane. Oh, you live with that? I'm going to tell you a Novandiga story now. This Novandiga Yid, he told me the story himself. He had lost his wife. And they read him another shidduch. And these people told him, she was a divorcee. And they said, you married that lady? You're dead. Forget it. In 2 weeks you'll be she's impossible. Just forget it. And he said, oh, that's nice. A good Novandiga laughs at that stuff. He'll marry a closed esrog box. He doesn't care. And he told me this himself. He married her, he lifted her up. He had a beautiful mishpach. I was at his house once. And I saw the way she was sitting there with such respect in a corner. Like it was unbelievable. I will mention something about ladies. The role of a woman, the anava that women that specialty, the men could also have it. Anova is number one. The Alter Rebbetzin, the Baron's Rebbetzin. They once asked her a shaila. If I'm not mistaken, the shaila was like this: should Reb Baron take a plane or a train to Florida to raise money for Lakewood? How should we do it? He had just had an accident. Who knows what really happened? But something like this. They asked her a shaila. It was in their house, and over there he lived in Borough Park, Reb Baron. And they walked over, and they said, oh, the Rebbetzins here, let's ask her. She was in shock. You asking me, a lady? What do I know? I'm a Yidana. I'm just a plain, My sister was like that. I'm super tzaddikus. I'm just a lady. What do you want from me? People like humility. Everybody loves it. But there are some people I forbid to ever talk like that. Oh, you're asking me? Got a good address. You hit it. That is a time for everything. And some people, I forbid them ever to put themselves down. Never! Not once! Not in a joke! If it's a good joke, then go for it. A good joke is worth, But otherwise, Baruch Motch's Rachi, his wife put out a book on Beichodesh. It's a class, a beautiful job. And then he was describing it. And they asked him, do you anything about you in there, Your wife put it out. She was the daughter of Beichodesh. So he says, yeah. He says, there's a couple of pages that I wrote, but very little. That's why it's such a good book. I heard him say that. It's a good joke. Great. Anyway, to be machshav what's going on in the world. That the last week's Haftarah, David HaMelech, when he got older, he was cold. These old people, they get cold, and they gave him blankets. I'm still freezing. Let me give you another blanket. I'm still freezing. Let's try another one. I'm freezing. So in Chazal, David HaMelech was once Mavaza Begodim. He once wanted to show when his father-in-law Shaul was hunting him down, trying to kill him. And so he was sleeping in a cave, Shaul, and David noticed it. He said, now I'm going to show him that I don't hate him. So he went down to the cave and he cut off a piece of his beged and he ran back. And then when Shaul woke up, he says, you see that? I could have killed you last night. Take a look. It's ripped. That was me. Now you think I hate you? I could have killed you easily. And in fact, why weren't the guys watching you? You're shaming. The Melech, I almost could have killed you easily. And Shaul takes a look and he started crying. But whatever, David wanted to show him. So for some reason, Kodesh Baruch Hu medactic with Tzadikim Chut HaSayra, David was punished for ripping the clothes. You will vaze begodim, I'll pay you back. Now you don't get warm. Begodim, it's a chefza. It's not a human. And if you're mavaza a person, and you are not machshav a person, you're getting no mileage out of him. You wanna stop being machshav your wife much more, machshav your husband, or machshav your parents, machshav your abayim. There's a yetzer hara not to be machshav. Don't listen. You know what I did? My father-in-law, I want to tell you, the newer people, it's harder for them because my father-in-law was a Munkach Chosid. He saw a Malach Hashem Tzvaka. He said, Minchas Allah was, can't describe his greatness. He had Ruach HaKodesh. He was a Tzaddik Yesod Olam. My father-in-law watched him a half hour every day. He allowed him. Bachram, he didn't like, he had the Litvish way of thinking. Bachram, gotta learn. Don't bother me going to Rebbe's and Tishin. The Minchas Allah thought was very much in that way of thinking. I mean, some things they did allow him, sure. But to hang around the Rebbe when he davened chakras, one person he let him hang around, my father-in-law. My father used to watch him every chakras for half an hour. He let him close his Gemara and watch the way he davened. He did it for years, 7 years, I think. And he said when the war broke out, he was way ahead of all his friends because he had seen the way his Rebbe davened. Different world. Now, how did I get into the Minchas Haluza? So, what was I talking about?
Respecting your father-in-law.
Who?
Respecting your father-in-law.
Yeah. You got to respect. It's true. You have to respect people. You don't respect, you don't get any mileage out of them. You're not machshav who they are. They won't perform to you. See, now, he is the grandson of the Minchas Haluza. There's a Rebbe today. He's a tzaddik, a gadol b'Yisrael mamish. He does tremendous chasadim. He's unbelievable. He's a very unusual person. And my father, you'd say, oh, he saw his grandfather. I'm not getting involved in the grandson. Like, he saw the big time. You know what he once did? Eyewitnesses? He fell down before the grandson and he kissed his shoes. He fell down on the floor, he kissed his shoes. So on Sukkot, when I was looking for pictures of tzaddikim, so as soon as I saw contemporary people, like the Lakewood Rosh Hashivas, give me that one! There were so many. You could Rabbi Bear with the Chavetz Chaim, with Rabbaran, with Reb Moshe, they were all over the place, with the Satmar, with the Mlikood. I said, no. I want our people. I want those. I want my sukkah. That's who I want, my sukkah. And I hung them up in my sukkah. I said, okay, I'll take the other ones too. I'm joking. But a person has to be machshav. So Rashi, respect our people. Go all out for that. The more respect, it's an assignment. Yetzirah is on your case not to respect as much as you should everybody and anybody. Yourself. See, you're not machshav begotten, they don't help you. You're not machshav yourself, you can't help yourself either. You're not machshav, you're going to be as much, Rabbaran says, Mishas Rabbaran, you are as big as what you think of yourself. Chaim! I ain't done my shalom. Now, David HaMelech. David HaMelech. Now, I want to mention this once happened to me. I'm a Rebbe. I had a kid in my class. He goes, a kid, a little bit lebedik, nothing terrible. But yeah, young. Some Rebbe tells me, oh, that kid? Oh. Dealing with him, it'll get you dizzy. That day, the kid acted up and did crazy things. And I told myself, because you heard that, that's why he did that. You shouldn't have heard that. Don't listen to that garbage. He's a great kid. I know some Rabbim will not listen to anything about last year's class. I don't want to hear. I want to form my own opinion. And they're all great. I know Rebbe did that. He was given one of the worst classes. It's a famous story. Avi Shulman speaks about it, that they took, I say it's a true story. They took a list of kids. They were the worst class in the school. And this teacher's son did wonders with them. The teacher, it was unbelievable. And they found out later, beginning, well, how did this happen? They asked him, how'd you manage it? These kids were cooks. He said, what, are you serious? This is the most brilliant class I ever had in my life. He said, come on. You didn't notice? No, I didn't notice. You didn't notice how this guy's off the wall, this guy's not too smart, this guy really needs to be left back. No, I don't know what you're talking about. They're Gabaldi. So they did some research and they found out that when he was given the list of names, he had this guy 100, this guy 102, 103, 104. He thought they were marks. They were locker numbers. So he thought they were marks. So he viewed those kids from what he saw, and he said, it's a true story. But you have to be so careful with yourself every day. You don't know how, just because today you could be even bigger. You're a new person. Meir Chodesh has a beautiful shmuz about Yaakov and Esav. Isn't there a time that Esav was worse than Yaakov? What do you want from Yaakov, from Esav for being? He was born like he was messed up from day one. And Yaakov had a head start, so he says, oh yeah, how people can easily change. Mine give me now, you were born. And Yaakov Avinu, Kol HaGadol Mechaveri, Yitzhak Gadol Mimeni, you need much more Musa as you become bigger. They always say it's an even nicer. Everybody has an equal chance. So a person can change very easily. Now, the biggest last week's Torah is Mamish. By the way, I was just on the phone just now. This happened 5 years ago, 6 years ago already. Beginning of my career with my Moshe. One of my first Moshe. They had a girl who was going off the derech. A 14-year-old girl was going off the derech. And I told the parents, speak about her milas. She had friends that were pulling her away, and her marks were slipping, and she was quickly going away from the whole system, and she was a disaster, and their parents were crying on the phone to me. I said, you're getting together with your wife, and you're going to speak 5 minutes a day, all her milas. Now, you know what became of this girl within a few months? She's a winner. She is an asset. She's turning over worlds. She's a big koyach. From your Shemaim, everything. How did it happen? 5 minutes a day. The father and the mother just spoke to the father today. So anyway, that's just, these things are going stronger than ever. But now I want to mention something about David HaMelech. Now there's a Maisa in Tanakh. This story is the most phenomenal story. Before David was Niftar, it says that he had Avisha Geshenamis, who was the most beautiful woman in the world, to help him out. He had a certain problem, and she was there. Now it says he had nothing to do with her because he had 18 wives, and she used to hang around him. Avisha Geshenamis, the single most beautiful woman in God's Klal Yisrael, had nothing to do with her. Now it says that he had a half brother. David HaMelech had a son, Adonio ben Chagis. Adonio ben Chagis was a ben Yefas Toyer, just like Avshalom. And he got up and he says, I'm taking over the show. He started getting his horses, right? Special horses with special gvura, all different shtick, and he had a whole army. And he started getting all important people like Yehuda ben Tzruya on his side who didn't like David so much. And he made a whole mass revolution and were taken over. Natan HaNavi found out what's going on. And Natan HaNavi went straight to Bathsheba. And he said, Bathsheba, you know that your son Shlomo is supposed to be the next king. And Adonio was going to be, guess what's going to happen? As soon as Adonio becomes king, you and Shlomo are dead. I mean, that's what the new kings do. The guy that's the opposition, it's over. So I advise you to go straight to David and say a word. And they went straight to David. And when she came to David, she said like this. She said, David, she bowed down. And she said, now it says when she walked in there, Abishag Yeshanamas was standing there, taking care of David. What do you need that for? To mention. Now we know it was mentioned already. That Abishag Yeshanamas, and who cares if she's super beautiful? Mine after Dina. The lady who helped them out was a super beautiful lady, and now she's mentioned again. Now listen to this. Bathsheba says, if you do not make my son, you promised that Shlomo would be the king. If you don't make Shlomo and me the king, we're going to be chaytim. Now the pashup shot in that is we're going to lose. But the Barbanel says, okay, everything okay with this? Barbanel says, you know what he says, Barbanel? David HaMelech was nifshel with Bathsheba. And she had Shlomo. Now, if Shlomo becomes king, then you want sin, but the sin's gone because he's actually my son becoming king. But if you don't make Shlomo the king, then we're sinners forever. You and me. The Barbanel says she didn't want it. She didn't tell him to his face. Then you are forever a sinner. Because if the sin is gone, then guess what happens? Not only is it gone, the Aver turns into a mitzvah. I heard from Yitzchak Kain. That's all. He's a big makubal here. He was in Lakewood. He said that when somebody does tshuva, when you do a chait, you create a malach that's out to kill you. In the next world, he's going to wipe the floor with you. He's dangerous like crazy. Every chait you make. You do tshuva, that same malach turns around, becomes your best friend. And he's going to stick up for you. He's going to be your best friend. So she said, now, so if Shlomo becomes king, then we see what tshuva. We see the power of tshuva. And you don't have no chait. She said, it's a chait. I'm the bad guy, and Shlomo is the bad guy. She didn't want to say directly you. Anyway, so David said, on the spot, call him right now. He said, no, he came next. He says, okay, get Shlomo to spin it right now, today. Put him on the throne, and let's get the bugles going. He's king today. And that's what happened. That's the end of the story. Now, Adoniyahu ben Chagis was his half-brother. It says on Adoniyahu ben Chagis, you think he was just an upstart that I want to be king? I don't think that's the shot. It says that his father never gave him Musa. His father never told him you did something wrong. It's a lashon of the pasuk. In other words, in his perception, he was the perfect tzaddik. He held malchus. You get a man like me on there, not someone with baggage like my half brother Shlomo, he's a result of Tati's Nebuch. What he was nechshel with Bathsheba. There's the son. That's not a king. You're going to put him up as a melech with Israel with such baggage, such a history. No good. I'm perfect. My father never gave me Musa, means I'm the man for the job. That's the job. By the way, I told this over to Rabbi Pahela. He's one of the biggest gainim in God's language. He said, it's not a nice shot, it's Torah's emes. This is the emes of shot. Now, I'll go weiter. There's a machlokes in the Gemara. What's better? A tzaddik gomer or a Baal Tshuva? The Rambam paskin is a Baal Tshuva. Adoniyahu ben Chagis paskin, tzaddik gomer is better. That's me. Shlomo, bad news. Baal Tshuva is no good. You know, they say the Kutzker Rebbe says, you know why bunch of Baal Tshuva ain't tzaddikim yimim cholim lamay? Because it smells terrible over there. But that's not for us. It's not for us. Anyway, but anyway, what happened with Saif? David became the king. I mean, Shlomo became the king. Isn't that a scandal? How do you let him become the king? The Rambam Paskins and the Rambam, I can tell you more than that. They hated David. When he was, even after he was Nifta, they were out. There's a mice. There were people talking about him. They passed by and they said, hey, Shasish, you go and you marry, you kill the husband, you marry his wife. That's what we have there for a king. You know, he had so much objection. Big people. Shimon ben Gera, Rosh Hashanah threw rocks at him. Why? Because of Bathsheba. That's one of the reasons. Bathsheba. Achishophel. Now it says a funny thing. Here comes more. If you don't mind, I'll just fit it in. It says in this shtickle Tanakh this week's Haftarah, it says that he was born after Adoniyahu ben Chagis was the next son after Absalom. Who cares about that? I'll tell you, I care a lot about that. And I tie it as a hekesh. Why did Absalom rebel? When did David really get nervous? First, I'll tell you the same reason. Same reason Adoniyahu rebelled. You want to put Shlomo in business? No good. But I'll tell you another zach. First of all, it says he was a Nazir. And his hair was super long. He's a tzaddik over here. And there's a baggage family. Keep them out of this. And then I'll tell you another zach. David HaMelech was crying. He was walking in the streets. And everyone was crying. They were wearing sackcloth. And they were escaping from his own palace. And his own son was out to kill him. And the whole Klal Yisrael was against him. And suddenly, when David heard something, then he really got nervous. He found out Achishophel, who was his chavusa, and who was the biggest gain in the universe. You asked Achishophel advice, you were going to the Eibush himself, like the Urim Tumah. And Achishophel Bakesha, someone comes over to him, David, I got news to tell you. Achishophel is on Absalom's side. What? Then David went to Gantz and he started davening Hashem, don't listen to Achishophel now. Why? The Pashup shot is Achishophel was brilliant. You got him on your side, you won. I'll tell you another reason why. You know why Achishophel was against David? Guess whose granddaughter was Achishophel? Bathsheba. And it says openly in Chazal, he hated David. What'd you do to my granddaughter? You know, Mazana with Anesha Sish. Achishophel was out to get David. I want to tell you like this. It wasn't just Achisevel's tough. Achisevel has the case, your sin, that's me. I'm out to destroy you because of your sin. And that's openly like this. I want to tell you. That's why both these revolutions had to do with David's sin. And when he found out Achisevel is against me, that's my sin, I'm in trouble. And he started davening. Now, the Yidden saw David, and they made a mention of it. They said, there, look what he does. So David turns around to those people who are making fun of him. It's a pell how a king can let people talk like this. And David tells him, I was neshul in an ish. Okay. A guy like me gets chenek, but he gets olam haba. You, chevra, well, malbim b'nei chaver b'rabim, you don't get any haba at all. I at least get olam haba. You guys have no. That's a famous chazal. They had it in for him throughout his life. Shouldn't gave everybody for a chait about Sheba. You did a chait like that? How do you get away with it? And the Viola, the Rambam Paskins, Markham Shabali Chuba, Shloima's in business, and there's a Rambam somewhere. And Pirush HaMishnayos, we have a few Bikim B'Shas sitting here. Don't let me know where it is. Whenever I need to know, there's a Rambam Pirush HaMishnayos. It says that Mashiach, the lineage of Malchus based David, has to come from David or Shlomo. It's got to be Shlomo too. Can't be a different son. That's part of it. It's got to be David and Shlomo. That's Mashiach. What's Shlomo? Because Shlomo is the living proof that b'malkim shabali tshuva ain't tzaddikim. Everything's based on that. You can do the worst sin. I was just looking at Paliyayitz. Never have yish. Bali tshuva na heilige Rambam. In Hilchos Tshuva, my favorite Rambam, the Baal Tshuva should never say, I'm a meshukitz, metuiv, meruchik. He has full lashonos. I'm a 0 minus. Look what I did. You know what this guy once did? Forget it. Bad news. You could do a thing like that. You'll never become anything. You could do a thing like that. It's not true. I've heard things like this, by the way. I've heard people being described that they weren't so good in certain matzovim, they fell. Certain people, leaders even, that during the war they did some things they maybe shouldn't have done. They fell here and they were weak here. People look down at someone who once did something bad. The Torah says, no way! You did tshuva, you're better than everybody. And the Rambam says, don't say that, the Heilige Rambam. In Yad HaChazaki he says it. He says, don't say that you're Makuriv, you're Yedid, you're beloved, you're the best, you're about tshuva, you're just the opposite of what you think. And this is such a hard thing for people to recognize the greatness of Baal Tshuva. Okay, now, Baal Tshuva. I have in my notes, I just looked it up. I found it in 2 places recently. One is from Rabbi Zer himself. You know what a Baal Tshuva is? You open up a book. I want to tell you, the guy who learns Musa in this world, the difference between him and the one who doesn't learn Musa is the Ma'aser Rebel Yulapin. 2 guys are fighting. The whole machlekes. I think it is true. Probably is true. I just want to be on the safe side. He said, they asked him to be machriya. Who's right, him or him? So he said, who learns Musa? He learns Musa? He's right. Goodbye. Person who learns Musa is a different world. Somebody was just about a year ago. His name was Dr. Sokol. Here in Lakewood. Our tightest sweetie pie. He learned in Baltimore. American boy. They wanted to send him to Israel. He had COVID. Wanted to send him to Israel. They couldn't. Because the COVID business, they didn't let him. So he was buried here. And a year later, they dug him up to send him. And the body was whole. And they asked the kids, what'd your father do special that stood out? And the kid said he learned a half-hour Musar a day. Now, I don't know the real reason. I'd rather have a different way of looking at these things. Ayin Tova, Reb Nosson Bachfeigel's father, Moshe Yomtiv Bachfeigel. He was a Rav in Montreal, I believe. They dug him up a while after he was nifta, and he was whole. And the Mashgiach said the reason. The reason is Ayin Tova. No jealousy. He was whole. You know who else was whole? Rosh Feivel Mendelovich was whole. And he was an Ayin Tova. This I'm saying. I think others say it also. He was, you know what he used to do? He send his boys out to other yeshivas. He had an Ayin Tova. Not only Torah V'das has to make it. I want Chaim Berlin to make it. I want to help Baltimore. He was busy. He wasn't stingy. It's not so easy, Ayin Tova. By the way, I love Biederman. And Oshir and Arush, these are my best friends. These are the people. Anyway, Ayin Tova. So now you know the reason by me. I'm joking. I'm a very complicated situation. Yeah, I told you what's going on in Yerushalayim. Chaver Kaddish is looking high and low to find a gravestone big enough to write all my milas. They can't find all over. They can't. You find a grave for him. Whoo, he was boom, 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 boom. You know what I said? My father, when he was nifta, he said, "Don't say anything nice about me." And a big tzaddikim held it. A great sezach. Rabbi Yosef Rosenman told me that's a big shvach on a person. He doesn't want they should say anything. And in my situation, I've already decided that if anybody, all those that plan to be masped me, if they ever get stuck in the middle, come to me. I'll tell you what to say. I've got a lot of good stuff. Yeah, I was joking the other day. I said, you don't know how big I am. Thanks for the arak. It's unreal. You don't know how big I am. I'm such a Mitsuyan. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm a Mitsuyan Gadol. I'm such a terrific person. I'm such a tzaddik. I'm such a goyim. I have so many. Did you ever hear anyone saying that about someone else? All the time. We all do it. Why not yourself? You know, Rabbi Kreis used to say, Ich bin echt ein Mama's Kind. I'm also a mother's child. What are you leaving me out of this? Why don't people say it about themselves? I hold if they would, they'd steig 1,000,000 times more. They really would. A little sincerity don't hurt either. It's true. You're a great guy. What? That's what I'm looking for, Gaiva. That's exactly, you know what Rav Bulba said. I heard this from an eyewitness. Someone went over to Rav Bulba by Avad and says, how do you work on a nova? Rav Bulba turns around. I think we got to work on Gaiva, yeah. So I go in Rav Bulba's shita. You know Rav Hutner said? He'd like to pour Gaiva on everybody's head. All right? It's okay. Gaiva. That's people, you know what I heard in Novandig? That if somebody works on his Gaiva because he's weak, he has no self-esteem, he works on Gaiva, he's going to get schar. Tremendous schar. And Oived Hashem, he worked on Gaiva day and night. He breaks his midos. You think it's easy? It's very easy to say, I'm not really so good. If you really knew me, if you'd only know who I really am, the things please don't say that about me. It's not true. You're not supposed to lie, you know. Don't say that about me. I know the truth. That's what everyone sounds like. I know why you're saying that. That's the way you talk to everybody. You're one of those types. Nobody likes to accept praise. So I was makabel bli neder, Rosh Hashanah. I have to work on Amuna in the Eibishter, Aleph, and Amuna in compliments, Beis. Think it's easy? Nobody believes any If you're suffix, if the guy meant you when he said abort, that might be criticizing you. He didn't mean you, but you maybe. It's over. Our relationship is, I see you give me muss already. So when it comes to hearing something bad, you believe it. Something good, something. So you got to work your head off, and you'll get schar. Now I want to talk about doing tshuva. Rabbi Isa told me that if you just open up a book and start writing, I want to work on this, and you end up doing zero, your schar is tol shamayim. You're on the road to tshuva. You just open the sefer, you show a will. You want to get involved in Musa. And the smallest involvement, you're so holy. You don't have no idea. You're called one of the Bali Tshuva. You know, in the next world, there's a group of people called Mari the Chushbana. Shem Amuna brings down. They're people who make a cheshbon. Make a cheshbon. It's so delicious. Take it 2 minutes. And if it doesn't go well, you get moschar because you try. I did this today. It didn't go. You know, I was working on thanking the Eibishter for all the good things. I got $2,000 out of Shabbos. And I was climbing the walls for some money. And I said, I got $1,000 check from nowhere. Thanks for that. Then I got a new suit, a nice suit. Boom. I wrote that. Thanks for the suit. Thanks for that. And the kids in the class stopped picking on me for a change. I'm joking. And I yelled at my wife only 10 times. I'm joking. But I wrote down a whole bunch of good stuff that happened. And I got stopped in the middle. I just couldn't think of anything. This is driving me nuts. I can't do this. Today was the best day I ever had. I once wrote 10 things, 20 things, 50 things. Today it didn't go. Today is worth 100 times more than any other day. What does it say by Avraham Avinu? Similar Yotcha Tachas Yerechi, because Mrs. Mila was Chavod. He loved it because there was pain. Any mitzvah that's pain, he loved it the most. Pain. Wow! There was pain over there. He had a hard Musa Seder. I opened the Black Gemara and I saw red. It didn't work. I'll tell you the truth. I had a hard day today with my Mishnayos. I taught my class Mishnayos. Whenever I have a special Seder, I learn with them. And it usually goes much better. Today was a disaster. At least to me. The kids liked it. You know, the kids are unreal. I keep them after school for half an hour, whatever. And it was a hard Perek. And I went through it more. I didn't get all the details so clear. Perek Shabbos, Perek Vav, Bama Isha. So it was a little bit, I didn't get some things. Maybe when I learned it myself, I got it. But with the kids, they started explaining it to them and started getting me dizzy. Leave me alone. The kids, and they were there 20 minutes. School is out. Everyone's going home. It's Sunday. And the kids didn't want to leave. No, we wanted, okay, kids, we had enough today. You figure you're dealing with kids. You're yaitza. They stay after school. I get them ice cream, you know. So they all wanted to stay. I don't see what's going on here. So I set a plug for the ladies before. Now come the kids. You know what our kids are, Rabbi Isai? You know what these kids are? They want to say, I'm learning Mishnah Shabbos. This is not easy stuff. I learned Be'ah today. In class, I learned the third parak of Be'ah. And Shabbos. And the kids want more. They don't want to leave. I'm looking. You sure? Yeah, Rebbe, yeah. This goes on all the time. I sit an hour every Sunday. I figure, let me learn some extra. So I learn a parak of a Masechta, whatever. I go through a lot of Masechtas. And they're all sitting there and they love it. And they want me to keep going. Such a thing. I guess I know the real reason. I'm a good Rebbe. Now I know the pshat. It must be because I'm a great Rebbe. That's the real reason, though. But anyway, the kids are today. But we have kids. You know what the kid did? This I must advertise. This kid's at Tzaddik. I love him to pieces. You know what the kid did? Someone went over. He's a Novandic kid. He's not a regular kid. He's in my club. That was by me on Shabbos. At Tzaddik, a kid, 11-year-old boy. Someone comes over to him and says, what are you davening on Shabbos? You're davening by Rabbi Mandel's Novandic Bטחון. He says, oh, how many people daven there? So the kid says, that question, how many people daven there, is pure covet. You're looking for covet. We don't get involved in that stuff in Novandic. We don't like that stuff, covet. Looking for covet. Imagine our kids are well trained. How do you like that one? Do you know how much pain people have? Because, do you know how many Rabbanim are? I got a phone call from a Hasidic community in Yehopitz, not around here. Calls me up. Ich bin Rebbe. He tells me he's an anicle of, and he says it's a very hard life because sometimes the Yolim, they leave me. And he's a Rav, he's a Rebbe, and he's losing Chassidim, and he's all stressed out. Look how much pain they have. you have a guy, he's giving a lecture for 1,000 people, and in the middle 10 people walk out because it's a shalom bias issue. That's the real reason. They'd like to sit there forever because he's a great speaker, and the wives just texted them 10 times, you better come home, or else I got a rolling pin waiting for you. So they're scared of their wives. See, now that I said such nice things about the ladies, now I can feel I'm liberated to kid around a little bit. Hope the ladies aren't. The ladies that are listening, please, you can take a joke, no? My daughter is my type of little. She did. My daughter. My Adam's a big Mitzuin. So somebody mentioned to my daughter that a couple of people was in a room, a couple of people there. They said, your husband's a big Mitzuin. So my daughter says, behind every successful man is an abused wife. So the whole place was on the floor. But two of these Hungarian ladies in the back said, they went up to my daughter, is everything all right? And I goes, is everything all right? You gotta watch. You gotta watch what you're saying. If they can't catch a joke, you're dead. I'm joking. I'm Rahmanis. So if I haven't said anything, I'm asking Mechila from all the ladies and all the kids. I make fun of kids a lot, worse than ladies. Ladies don't feel so bad. You know what they do to those 5-year-old kids who run the world? Those nasty rascals, those brats, those 5-year-old schnooks. I saved several families with this. Someone came over to me. Him and his wife are afraid of their 5-year-old. When the 5-year-old steps into the room, they run. They're scared of him. What's Yankee going to want from us next? And they're such idle people, father and mother. The peaches, too much peaches are no good. So anyway, I told him, I gave him a whole pep talk. Who's that schnook? You up and Torah. He's rather an overqualified young man. He's a tzaddik and a goyin and he got it all. And I assume his Rebbitzin must be chashuv. And afraid of that little nobody. You know what these kids do? My favorite story. I was once standing outside watching the kids during recess. And suddenly a kid comes in. The 5-year-olds. The youngest in the school. Comes in. His little payas over there. Short pants. And tzitzis. And his two friends are carrying him from the yard, and they said, Moshe fell. Moshe's bleeding. Moshe's not feeling. Moshe, bring him to the nurse. His two friends are all excited. Moshe has been hurt. He's been hurt, and he's gushing. They're going with sugar. Moshe's gushing. Okay, mashallah, let's see what happens. And as they say that, Moshe feels so sorry for himself. As they're, the more sorry they are for him, the more sorry he gets for himself, And he cries even louder. He's crying. Then I said, okay, tell me, where are you gushing? I'm not sure. Where am I gushing? I'm not sure. I'm the right foot of the left. I promise, it's a true story. The right foot. You should know, you think adults change? Adults, the only things that becomes real, if you don't work on these things, it becomes real. You feel, how many people I got out of the COVID business? Somebody called me up. I don't hold from the COVID. I'm serious. I don't care what anybody says. But you have to, okay. But I still believe that if you had the right brains, the Moran Padova says, every Magefa, if you're not afraid of it, you can lick it. So why should COVID be different? But I hold from day one, something's fluky about this COVID because the newspapers were stepping it up like the world's turning over because they sell more. By the way, can anybody want to take, this is from last week, it's as good as gold, it's my newest stuff. You want to take some of yourself and give them out? The hair, Rabbi say, take, Bטחון weeklies, the half of a fella I know the Machaba.